Hello crafters, I'm JanB and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Last week I showed you how to make a pizza style divided box for Christmas cards and Christmas tags. Today I'm going to show you how I made the cards and tags that I've put inside. I start off with the card pieces you're going to need. I'll do these separately. I'll do the card first and then I'll move on to the tag. So the card pieces you're going to need for the card, this is a base of real red and it measures 8 inches by 4 inches and scored halfway down. That's 20 centimetres by 10 centimetres, scored at 10 centimetres and folded in half. Then you need a piece of DSP, and this is from the Presents and Pinecones designer series paper, and this measures 3 7/8 by 3 7/8 inches, which is 9.75 by 9.75 centimetres. Then you need a piece of the Fancy Frost Specialty designer series paper, and this is the DSP that's already embossed, and for this one I'm using the stripes, and this measures 3 5/8 inches by 3 5/8 inches, which is 9.25 by 9.25 centimetres. Then you need a piece of Whisper White that's 3.5 by 3 inches or 9 centimetres by 7.5 centimetres, which is for the sentiment. You'll need a piece of Emerald Envy, which is for the layer for the sentiment, and that measures 6.5 centimetres, 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches, which is 6.5 centimetres by 9 centimetres. Then you need a piece for the bow, this one here, and that measures approximately 2 inches by 1 inch, which is 5 by 2.5 centimetres. And then you'll need a piece for the 5 stars, which is approximately 3/4 of an inch by 4 inch, which is 2 by 10 centimetres. So first of all we're going to do the stamping, and what I have done with the stamping, you see all that glitter there, I've used our new glitter embossing powder, so I want to show you how to get the best from that. So first of all, the sentiment I'm using is Noel, and that comes from Christmas Pines stamp set. This is one here. And you'll need some Versamark and also some Emerald Envy ink. Okay, and I will take a sheet of paper to catch my embossing powder on. Slowly pushing that out of the way, aren't I? Okay, so this is my piece of cardstock. I'll go over it with my embossing buddy first. Right, and then I'm going to ink my stamp up with Versamark first. And let's bring my glitter over as well. We do this in red as well. Right, so that's with the Versamark, and then with the ink, and then stamp it. And then sprinkle, and then we need to heat set that. You can use this glitter with just Versamark, but it doesn't come out anywhere near as deep as this. I believe this is the way that Stampin' Up are recommending it's done, I think. Right, so let's put that away. Right, now my heat tool. Right, it's going to go a little bit noisy, but it doesn't last long. Oops. So that's all the stamping we need to do for the card. So I need to do some die cutting now. So I'll bring my Big Shot up. So first of all, I have my Noel, and the dies I'm using are from the layering oval framelits. In here you get two lots of dies. You get straight cut and you get the scallops, and the straight cut dies, they get smaller and smaller and smaller like these do, but they can't be stacked on top of each other because they are so close with the layering. They would be sitting on top of each other more or less. The way I count them is, let's bring that back, sorry. The way I count them is I start with the smallest die, so that's number 1, then the next smallest one is that one, so that's 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6. So I finish up with all my odd numbers that side, all my even numbers that side. I do exactly the same with this. And then I'm able to say the dies that we're using for this are straight cut number 5 and the scalloped number 5 as well. So I'm going to bring that over. Let's do that one. And then that one. And just put that through. So that's my Noel. That's a scallop. And then the next die cutting I need is for the bow and the stars. And what I've done here, because I was doing several of them, I found that using a single die for the stars, like this one, this is what I started off using. In this set, you have this with the hearts as well, the hearts and the circles. So I started using this much quicker. I can do 7 stars all in one go. Okay, and this set of dies is the mini treat bag thinlits. Okay. So there's that and that. I can now move the Big Shot out of the way. if I use my paper piercer here. And then I can just push my stars out. There we go, that's that one. And 2 spare ones. I put 5 stars on here. And then the bow. Would have been helpful if I'd used some wax paper. But never mind, it's out. And as you can see, this is one of those hairy ones. So I'm just going to get my brush over to get rid of the hairy bits. There we go. Quite a lot of hair for just one small die. But it does tend to be the smaller die that do that. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my card together using Tombow. That's my sheet of Presents and Pinecones DSP, and my Frost, what was it called? Fancy Frost Specialty Designer Series paper. And pop that on top. This one I left a bigger gap. I normally just leave 1/8 of an inch between my layers, but I wanted the DSP to actually show. And then I'm going to adhere my sentiment onto my Emerald Envy layer. If you want to put this onto dimensionals, obviously that's an option for you. Actually, thinking about it, I'm not quite sure how that would work if you're doing this for the box. I don't know if 5 of these cards would be too much with those dimensionals. Right, so there's that. And I'm going to adhere this with glue. There we go. And have I lost a star? Oh no, there it is. And I'll put my stars on, and the bow, and my silicone mat is here. I think I've got a little bit of glue on my fingers now. Right, make sure you get the right side that you're going to put the glue on. I don't have a fixed design how I put these stars on, apart from the fact is like 1 in each quarter segment and 1 above Noel. Some are up, some are down. just really random. And then this one is for the Noel. And then for the bow, one little bit in the centre, a little bit on either end of the bow. Very gingerly trying to get some out without it all spreading everywhere. Oops, that did go everywhere. Never mind. In fact, that's come out too heavy as well. You may have seen what I do when my glue comes out too heavy like that. I just dab it onto a piece of scrap paper just to get the excess off. There we go. And then I just finish off with some rhinestones on here. And I've put one in the centre of each star. You could also put one in the centre of the bow as well if you wanted. There we go, one more. That's not quite in the centre, is it? That's better. There we go. Nice and simple, but look at that glitter. That really is a wow. I love it. Right, okay, so that's the card done. But let's move that out of the way. Am I going to get a big shot back? No, I'm not, am I? Okay, you can stay. Right, so for the tag, let me give you the card sizes that you're going to need. Let's leave those. Right, okay. So for the actual tag, you need a piece that's a tad short of 2 inches, which means a tad short of 5 centimetres, and that is because it needs to be a tad short to get into the tag topper punch, by 3 3/4 inches or by 9.5 centimetres. Then you need a piece of the Fancy Frost Specialty Designer Series paper. In fact, where's my tag gone? There we go. So that it makes sense as I'm talking. With this, I did the white the same length as the red, but just shortened it on the sides there. So this measures 1 7, well, a tad shorter than 1 7/8, because that one's a tad shorter than 2 inches, so I still wanted to leave the gap there. Which again means a tad shorter than 4.75 centimetres across there. But this side is the same as that length, and that is 3 3/4 inches or 9.5 centimetres. And then for this, the pieces that you need are approximately, for the Emerald Envy, 2 inches by 3 inches, which is 5 by 7.5 centimetres. For the Presents and Pinecones DSP, you need 1 7/8 by 3 inches, which is 4.75 by 7.5 centimetres, and exactly the same for the sentiment, which is 1 7/8 inch by 3 inches or 4.75 centimetres by 7.5 centimetres. Right, so what we're going to do, again, we're going to use the glitter. I'm going to have to change my piece of paper because I used that for wiping my glue on it. In fact, Tombo's going to play up if I don't put the top on it. Right, now the sentiment on this, I love this, it says you'll love this, which I think is absolutely ideal for a gift tag. And that comes from the Jar of Cheer stamp set, this one here. Okay, so what we'll do is we take this piece, put those on one side, and we'll use our embossing buddy, move any fingerprints, static. We don't want our emerald green glitter sticking in different places. Right, so I have my Versamark and I have my Emerald Envy ink and the stamp. Right, there we go. So ink it with the Versamark first, and then the Emerald Envy ink, and then stamp it in the centre. And then sprinkle it with the glitter. That's it. Right, I don't think we need this anymore, do we? And we're not going to use the Versamark anymore either. And we just tip the glitter back into our pot. There we go. Oops, nearly. Right, because this is so close, I'm going to hold it with these tweezers that were sent to me by a friend. Thank you ever so much, really appreciate these. Times like this, they're brilliant, really brilliant. It just holds it on its own. It's a what I call reverse tweezers. Here we go. And just tilt it in the light to see whether it's actually all melted. But yep, that looks great. Yes, I do need my Big Shot, don't I? Of course I do. That's me thinking that I'm going to be punching these shapes out. Right, so let me get the Big Shot again. But at least I can do all three pieces in one go. So again, I'm using the layering ovals, and the ones that I'm going to use, that's the straight cut number 3. For the Presents and Pinecones DSP, I'm using number 4 straight cut. And for the Emerald Envy cardstock, I'm using the scallop size 4. There we go. So there's that one. Don't need that. That one. Don't need that. and that one. There we go, so pop those over there. Right, the next bit we can use our punch, or at least one of our punches. We're going to use the tag topper. Now you can do these separately if you want to, but what I do is I put them on top of each other, line them up where I want them to go, so I've got my equal gap down both sides, and then I slide it in, holding it, I don't let it go, and then go down. Okay, so then that will line up really nicely. Now I am going to round the corners, but I'm not going to do that until I've got this adhered together. And Tombow. You can use any glue, your preferred glue. And then just line up the fancy bit at the top. Then once that's nicely lined up, just make sure you've got the same gap all the way down. And then also make sure that you don't overlap like I do there. If you do, just snip that off. There we go. I haven't left room on the front here to do to and from, although we do have several stamps. It crops up in a few stamp sets that you can, but there's plenty of room on the back for you to do stamping if you want to, but certainly writing, plenty of room for that. Okay, so I'm going to put this together now. This Emerald Envy is quite a nice green. It's like a almost like a jade, turquoisey sort of green. Not quite sure that's a very good description of it, but it's very nice to get a green that's just a little bit different. There we go. So that's that. Again, you could use dimensionals to put this onto your tag. Right, so that's it. All I need to do now is to put my tassels on it, and what I'm using is these two. It comes as a pack of one. It's real red baker's twine and also red and white baker's twine, and the beauty of this one is, if I can show you, it's actually red like glitter, sparkly. Come on camera, get into focus. That's better, I think. Okay, so it's really lovely with the sparkle on here. Now, I like mine that sort of length, which means overall that's 8 inches, and I've got 4 strands of each. So how I do that is, once I'd made my first one, I was happy with it. I measured and it was 8 inches. So I need 4 times that, which is 32, which I've forgotten to do that in metric, haven't I? Have I got my ruler here? Nope. 32, but it must be like 30 is 30.5. So about 35, I suppose. No, it can't be right, can it? 30. Anyway, I'll put it on the screen. It's certainly 32 inches, so that's 16 inches there and 16 inches there. A little bit generous. And then what I do is I fold it in half and cut that. Then I fold it in half again. And I should finish up with 8 inches. Okay, so I fold that in half. Push it through the opening there. And then don't let go until you've got your finger through all of the loops. Come on. Right, there you go. That's all of them. And then you just threadle those through. If they look a bit loose, you can just pull them individually, tighten them up a bit. But I'm quite happy with that. And you can also just tidy this up as well. Normally I don't worry about it, but I can see there's some of the glittery bit has started unravelling there. Okay, and then the final thing is just to round the edges, and I'm using my Project Life corner rounder. Okay, so that's one corner and the other corner. That didn't do too well, so let's turn it over the other way. Turn it over the other way. Go on, worry about you at times. Right. Well, it's still not brilliant, but that's fine. That's fine. So that's the project for today. These are what will be going in my pizza style box. And I would just, because you know I had 2 boxes that I showed you last week, and this is the red set that I did. Okay, so just the same, but with the different DSP here and using the red. But you can see just how beautifully and glittery that is too. They look lovely. Really love it. So there you go. Green and red. I hope you've enjoyed today's project. Many thanks for joining me. If you have any questions, please contact me. I'm always happy to help. If you would like to purchase any of the products that I featured here today, you can either visit my blog at www.janbcards.com and you'll find a shop now button, or there'll be a link in the box below. If you've enjoyed my video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button. And finally, I will put all the measurements, including that of the baker's twine, on the screen. If you can't see it on the screen, you will see it in the box below, because I do appreciate that not all devices display what we put on our videos. So there we go. Many thanks for joining me today. Until next time, happy crafting. Cheerio.